If something scared the hell out of me, it was usually the right choice. I don't know how to write this. I don't know if I can do this. That's the show I should do. And those shows were always better.
How much writing had you done before you were hired on Newhart?
We had probably maybe 7 or 8 plays published with Samuel French and going around the world. And they were looking, it was the seventh season of Newhart, I guess. And they were looking for playwrights. The people who ran the show, this is just a weird coincidence, but it worked out great. Mark Egan, Mark Solomon had been writers who had been taught by Bob Carroll Jr. and Madeline Davis, who were the I Love Lucy writers. And I Love Lucy is the whole reason I got into the show business in the first place. I wanted to do that sort of comedy. And they were hiring playwrights to be on their writing staff. And so we met with them and had a great time. And I ended up getting friendly with Madeline and Bob, and it was just couldn't have been better. Bob Newhart spoiled me for every show that came afterwards. It was a perfectly run show. And we went home at 5 o'clock as writers. We went home at 5 o'clock every night, as opposed to shows that last till 3 in the morning doing rewrites. And any show I've ever done where you're rewriting at 3 in the morning, nothing you're writing is good. It's just different. And I asked Bob and Madeline once, because they did 39 episodes a year on I Love Lucy alone, just the two of them. And they always went home by 5 o'clock. They didn't rewrite anything until the middle of the night and all that. I said, how did you do that? And she said, well, if you can't do it by 5 o'clock, you shouldn't be doing this. It's like, oh, okay. So when we do our shows, when we would do our TV shows, we would do one take of every scene. That's it. Bob Newhart taught us that. You start at 7 o'clock, and he had a dinner reservation at 8:30 that he needed to get to. So you did one scene, and that was it. Move on like a play. If you got a costume change, make it fast. Get back out, because all that mattered to him was the audience in the bleachers, not the one in the camera. In the bleachers, the people there being entertained. And it was a great learning experience. And most of the shows that we've done on our own, we did the same way. One take and move on. And even Martin Lawrence, when I did the Martin TV show, could not be more different than Bob Newhart, but it was the same thing with him. One take and move on, because the people in the bleachers were all that mattered. And Bob also didn't work with a laugh track. He said, if I don't get a laugh, the people at home aren't stupid. They'll know if it's not funny, they shouldn't laugh at it. If it's funny, they'll laugh. So there was whatever the bleacher people laughed at, that's what was on the track. That's it.
And oftentimes the bleacher people, those were more tourists, weren't they?
Mostly tourists. Although there was always, there was one row in the front of all the Newhart shows that were all his old friends. I remember Ava Gabor sitting there with she had a stun gun on her lap in case anybody came near her. I do remember that. And Natalie Schaefer from Gilligan's Island, she was there. It was a weird collection of people, but that one row had different people every night. The rest were tourists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before you were hired for Newhart as a writer, had you auditioned as an actor for the show?
Yes. Yeah, actually, what was it? Maybe 2 months before we had our writing interview, I had an audition where I was, it was a fantasy scene with Mary Fran, something like that, and I came in to read for that. But it was 110 degrees, and they didn't let the actors park on the lot, so I had to park in the neighborhood and walk through the sound stages to get to the office, to the audition, and I was dying. And I asked one of the ladies if I had something to drink, and she said, no, but you can go down to the men's room and put your head under the faucet. Okay, so I did. Maybe 2 months later, we were hired. We had our meeting, our writer meeting. They let us pull onto the lot. We parked the car right next to the sound stage. We walked into the office. Can we get you some soda? Yeah, I'd like a Coke. Sure. And that's the difference between how actors are treated out here and how writers are treated out here. So when it was like, okay, do I want to give up my acting career to write? Yeah, right now I do. This is much better, And And as I said, it could not have been a better first experience.
Do you still consider yourself an actor who writes things?
Yes, yeah. A lot of times I hear, serious playwrights talking about their crafts, and I'm thinking, I don't know what they're talking about. I just know how to write some funny stuff and put it. There were no messages in any of our shows. They were, well, we snuck a few in, but they were, our early plays were all farces. They were all just broad farces, slapstick, big physical humor kind of things. And as the years went on, we started changing things around and trying new things. And I did find over the years that if something scared the hell out of me, it was usually the right choice. I don't know how to write this. I don't know if I can do this. That's the show I should do. And those shows were always better. So we got rid of the farce stuff, and we started doing, like I did a show called Silent Laughter, which was a slapstick silent movie that took place on stage, silent. Actors' dialogue was over our heads on title cards. We had a big theater organ playing along with the actors, and it was done like we were in a Buster Keaton movie. And we ran Off-Broadway for a while, and that was great. But the first rehearsal I had with my poor actors, I'm explaining what we're going to do, and they're looking at me like, what? And we didn't know how to rehearse it because there were no cues. We couldn't talk, so you had to watch for your cue from the wings to know to come in. And right before we opened, a couple of different people went, Billy, I don't know what we're doing. This is a mistake. This is just a mistake. Then we brought the organ guy in. And as he started playing, everybody went, oh, I get this now. And we got a great review in the Times, and it was good. It was good. But the scarier the show, the better, to me. We wrote a musical, not because we were musicians, but because we thought it would be fun to do, and nobody ever told us we couldn't. So we jumped in to do that. We did a show called You've Got Hate Mail, which was the story of my writing partner Jane's divorce. Long story, but it was told through email. So it was 5 people on laptops and this marriage falling apart because of an email that goes to the wrong person. And that's done all over the world now. But all these things are like, should we do this? It's kind of weird. Yeah, let's do it.
And so if it didn't scare you, did you know that it would make you complacent?
I don't want to say we got bored, but we found we had a formula, and we were just following the formula of writing a farce. We knew somebody was going to come into the door, and then you have to pretend to be somebody or not, and all this sort of thing. And it just got to be, we've done this. We need to do something new, And the play that really changed things was when we wrote a show called Drop Dead, which was about a community. No, it was about a bunch of has-been actors putting on a murder mystery in an off-Broadway theater, and all the things that can go wrong. I might call it The Play That Goes Wrong because on purpose, because there's a show called The Play That Goes Wrong, and I sat there and watched that. It's a very funny show, really well done. And I was sitting in the audience on Broadway going, that's from my show, that's from my show, that's from my show. So they didn't steal anything, but I think if you're doing a show about actors, things going wrong, you're going to hit some of the same things. But I was just sitting there going, God, But I enjoy doing farce, going back to that. Because nobody does it, and nobody does it well when they do it. They look down their noses at it, and it's an art form. And we've been very lucky in that I've got a great troupe of people that are specialists at this stuff, and we've been working together for almost 50 years. We can't take the falls as easily as we could. We're all bruised up. One of my guys, Glenn Jones, who's in all our shows, he got hit by a drunk driver after a rehearsal one night, and he was all banged up.
Oh, no.
And he goes to the hospital, and he said he felt fine, but they taking X-rays and doing all this stuff to him. And the doctor comes in and says, Glenn, you're much worse than you think. And he said, what do you mean? You have a chip in a bone in your neck. He said, oh, that's not from the accident. That's from Drop Dead. Billy had a doorknob in his hand, threw me up against the wall, and Oh, all right. Well, your ribs. You've got broken ribs. He said, no, that's from Silent Laughter. We were doing a bit, and I fell on the floor. I fell on my gun. And, okay. Well, what about the scrape on the side of your face? Oh, last night at rehearsal we had a plastic fruit fight, and I got a pear sliced me in the face. And the doctor said to him, "Well, I think we've learned something here, Glenn. You're better off getting hit by a drunk driver than you are doing those Zandt Milmore shows." And it's true. We're all bruised. We're all banged up. We all, but that's our gig.